Genuinely magnetic energy, they don't come from desperately clinging to things. They actually come from letting go.
It's a paradox we all experience, isn't it? Hooking our entire sense of self-worth onto an outcome. Maybe that's a job promotion, a romantic relationship, or even just chasing likes on social media. We completely exhaust ourselves trying to control every little variable, living in this constant state of anxiety about the future or, guilt about the past. And all these modern attempts to find love and validation, they just leave us feeling totally burnt out and empty. So we have to ask, why is it that the harder we chase these things, the faster they seem to sprint in the exact opposite direction?
Well, think about it like this. Imagine you're holding a handful of dry sand. If you squeeze your hand into a clenched fist, desperately trying to hold on to every single grain, what happens? The sand just rapidly slips through your fingers and is lost. But if you take that same sand and hold it in an open, relaxed palm, it stays perfectly grounded. It just rests right there in your hand. This is such a powerful way to illustrate how anxious attachment suffocates the very things we want. When we squeeze too hard, we create all this resistance. Detachment, on the other hand, creates this open, relaxed, and highly attractive space for things to just naturally stay.
And when we don't have that open palm, we fall right into the chasing trap. Basically, if we lacked nurturing or maybe didn't feel completely seen, heard, and soothed early on in our lives, we often grow up frantically searching for a substitute. And that substitute is what's known as the ugly cousin of love. It's attention, it's validation. We end up settling for external approval, thinking, if I just get enough praise at the office or enough followers online, I'm finally going to feel whole. But man, it is an empty pursuit. The ego always wants more, and we just get stuck in this exhausting cycle of trying to prove our worth to the outside world.
You'll probably recognize these two relationship dynamics. Honestly, maybe you've even been one of them at some point. On one side, you've got the golden retriever energy. This is your classic anxious attachment style. Super eager, pretty needy, projecting this immense pressure onto a partner to fulfill all their unmet childhood needs. It's a heavy energy that ultimately ends up repelling people. Then on the flip side, we have the cat energy. This is the avoidant attachment style. They're aloof, they fiercely crave independence, and they actively push intimacy away. But here is the serious underlying truth here. Both of these styles are actually avoiding true, healthy connection, because neither has learned to just be whole within themselves.
So, looking at those intense relationship dynamics, it naturally brings us to a much deeper question. Where does this desperate need to cling, to control everything, and to seek constant external validation actually come from? To really understand this, we need to dive into a totally fascinating and honestly somewhat heartbreaking psychological study. It reveals exactly how our nervous systems get wired for attachment or detachment right from the very beginning of our lives.
Let's look at the famous still face experiment. At 0 minutes, a mother and her baby are joyfully interacting. The mom is mirroring the baby's emotions, smiling, cooing, and the baby feels perfectly safe and seen. But at 2 minutes, the experiment asks the mother to look away, and when she looks back, she presents a completely still, emotionless face. By minute 4, the baby completely panics. First, they protest, screaming, pointing, just trying to get the mom's attention back. And when that fails, the emotional pain becomes so incredibly intense that the baby literally contorts its physical spine just to turn away from the mother. Years later, this kind of early emotional withdrawal manifests as deep, deep inner child trauma.
The really absolutely crucial point here is what happens in the aftermath of that early emotional withdrawal. A child obviously can't intellectually process what's happening, so they just internalize it. And this creates what is known as normalized shame. It's this subconscious belief taking root that basically says, I am broken. There is something fundamentally wrong with me. Because feeling that raw shame is just too painful to bear, we normalize it. And then we spend the rest of our lives frantically attaching ourselves to people, to jobs, and to outcomes, just to get some kind of external proof that we are actually safe and worthy. We essentially attach just to avoid the shame.
Now, this brings us to a massive misconception that we really need to clear up. A lot of people confuse detachment with avoidance, but there's a huge difference. Avoidance is running from reality out of fear, right? It's sweeping things under the rug because you're terrified of the pain or the outcome. Detachment, however, is standing firm and facing reality with complete inner peace. Actually, it doesn't mean you're cold, apathetic, or that you just don't care at all. True detachment is a superpower where you engage fully, you love deeply, and you work incredibly hard, but you just aren't completely shattered if the outcome doesn't go your exact way.
History is literally full of icons who changed the world using this exact mindset. Take Mahatma Gandhi, for example.
He didn't achieve monumental change through frantic clinging or panicking over every single outcome. He operated on this unshakable principle of being entirely detached from the result, yet 100% committed to the cause. He focused purely on his actions, truth and nonviolence, fully knowing that the ultimate outcome was totally out of his hands. That level of outcome independence, that is what gave him immense, unshakable power.
And we see this exact same superpower in the modern world, for sure. Look at the legendary cricketer M.S. Dhoni. Known as Captain Cool, his defining trait is his unshakable calm in both victory and defeat. He doesn't jump wildly when he succeeds, and he doesn't collapse when he fails. He plays the game of life with absolute, full-throttle intensity, but he remains completely detached from the final score on the board. This completely proves that detachment doesn't lower your performance. It actually heightens your focus, because your energy isn't being drained by the constant fear of losing.
Think of this whole concept like in Archer. As an archer, you have total control over pulling back the bowstring, focusing your eyes, taking a deep breath, and aiming. That is your input. You own that. But the very second that that arrow leaves your fingers, it completely belongs to the wind. If a sudden gust blows it way off course, well, that was entirely out of your control. Our true power in life lies entirely in our preparation and our actions. Everything else, the applause, the final result, the flight of the arrow, we just have to peacefully surrender that to the universe.
Okay, so understanding this philosophy is great and all, but how do we actually pull this off in the real world? Like when our boss is yelling at us or a relationship is totally on the rocks. How do we practically build this superpower of magnetic detachment into our crazy, busy daily lives? Well, the good news is there are incredibly effective, actionable daily habits that act as anchors. They literally rewire our nervous system right out of that anxious chasing mode and back into a state of calm presence.
The very first practical tool you can use is the breathing reset. When you feel your mind spiraling into those exhausting mental loops of anxiety or guilt, you absolutely need a physical pattern interrupt. So, you just take a 4-second inhale, you hold it for 4 seconds, and then peacefully release with a 4-second exhale. Doing this just 3 times physically pulls your nervous system right back into the present moment. It instantly stops the chaotic momentum of your thoughts and grounds you back in the here and now. And remember, the here and now is literally the only place you actually have any real power.
Alongside the breathing reset, you can start layering in these daily detachment micro-habits. First up is the 3-second pause. When someone says something triggering to you, don't immediately react. Just wait 3 seconds. In that tiny pause lies your total freedom to choose a calm response rather than a toxic reaction. Next is a 10-minute morning noise detox. Try starting your day with no screens, no notifications, just silence to set a baseline of peace. Finally, question every single anxious thought. Ask yourself, is this fear actually happening right now, or is it just a crazy movie playing in my head? These micro-habits will fiercely protect your mental space.
To really summarize the ultimate benefit of doing this daily work, I love the umbrella metaphor. Developing a calm mind and practicing detachment doesn't mean your life is suddenly going to be perfect. There will still be office pressure, relationship tensions, unexpected failures. It's still going to rain. But detachment is the umbrella. It doesn't stop the rain from falling, but it absolutely stops you from drowning in it. It allows you to step back and observe the chaos of life without letting that chaos completely consume your inner world.
Which leaves us with one final deeply personal question to ponder as we wrap up. I want you to look at the areas of your life where you feel the absolute most exhausted and burnt out right now. It is almost guaranteed to be the exact area where you are gripping the hardest. So ask yourself, what specific outcome, what desperate need for validation, or what old fear are you willing to finally let go of today? Because the moment you release that grip, you don't lose your power. You step right into your true magnetic energy. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this helps you open your palm to the world.